Been with the Gotti brothers, I think 30 plus. When is it time to free the slaves in the music game? I was a hood celebrity for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, but I was a hood celebrity.
Okay.
I actually took Buster to get his first Land Cruiser and his first Benz. I got a lot. See, my story is hard to just jump into to get to where you want to get to. I'm gonna try to speed it. And we like, fuck, and Irvin, Chris, and John them came to the decision like, fuck them. This is our shit. This is what we standing on, and we did it. And he was breaking it from LA. 336 Job. That album, we broke that from LA and pushed it across. Through that, we came up with something. Irv came up with this. He dubbed it the Irv Gotti Swerve. I have my own budget. Trust me, I have $1 million budgets. Chris Gotti, he knows. He was the back end of Murder Inc. Irv was the visionary. Chris translated into paper and into dollars, physically. You see what I'm saying? At Addventures Music is always a home for the artist. But we all have something unique about us. But I think me and Chris' platform has a lot more uniqueness about us. People on our platform are members. Because when you're a member on Addventures Music, you have a voice.
Yeah, man. We here for another episode of Force to Win Podcast. It's your boy Frank Nino. You know, got my homegirl Leticia J here. Special guest, my guy, executive extraordinaire, Addventures Music, Murder Inc.'s own, Dex Diamond. What's going on, man?
Yeah.
What's shaking?
What's going on, people?
Where's the sound effects?
What's going on, man? Come on. This guy's been outside for a real long time, man.
If Frank know one thing about me, I'm not with them smoking mirrors and them sound effects and the bell ringers on. I'm straight business.
That's what
straight
he
to
said.
it.
Straight to business. God don't play around. This guy been the third lane moving around.
This industry is an industry, and it is no way a game. It's nothing.
You gotta have a thick
game
skin.
about it.
You gotta have a thick skin.
You got to. Mentally, physically, financially. You know what I'm saying? Those are the three things you need to be successful in this
game. So yeah, I was trying to do some research, and I was like, Frank, I can't find no interviews, and he was like, he's more of a behind the scenes guy. He's in the scenes, but he's behind the scenes, so you're not gonna see him all in the limelight like that. So
I don't pop out. The only podcasting stuff I really been doing is people that's been working with me over at least 10 to 15 to 20 years. You know
so I made the cut.
You definitely made the cut.
Right.
We got history. Everything,
I made the cut.
Everything moving had to come through Springfield. You go to Boston, you slide in over here to Springfield, especially if you're a good artist. And I had major artists, and we would slide from Hartford and slide over to Springfield.
Okay.
And so Springfield was always a market, to tap into if you in Hartford.
So how long have you been in the industry?
Wow. I've been with the Gotti brothers, I think 30 plus.
30 plus years.
Did y'all grow up together or something? In the same hood?
Nah, that's how long we've been in the industry. I'm from Brooklyn. They from Queens.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Brooklyn hustler.
What part of Brooklyn?
I'm Kings County. I'm from a neighborhood called the 90s.
What part of Brooklyn you from, you said?
I'm from Flatbush. So I was born in Kings County.
They say the 90s is part of is in the East Flatbush section, but my neighborhood particularly carved out our own name, and it's called the 90s.
Okay.
MC Light is from there.
Okay.
Bobby Rowdy's from there. It's a lot of groups out there. There's a lot of groups out there. Come with the time, the Rangers.
Listen.
You got Des. There's a lot of people come out from that
the
particular
best of the
neighborhood.
best is from Brooklyn.
But as early as MC Light though.
You said the best is from Brooklyn?
I said the best of the best is from Brooklyn,
yeah,
right?
That's
yeah.
We had that.
We got some kings. We got some kings.
The boroughs.
Listen,
The
New
boroughs
York
from 1 to 5. Boroughs. Top boroughs. You got to name 1 to 5.
Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, Brooklyn.
So Brooklyn's last?
Manhattan.
They used to say.
No.
I'm
not going in order. I'm just naming
No.
Well, his question, if I answer his question, I'm an old school dude. If I remember correctly, it's Manhattan keeps on making it. Brooklyn keeps on taking it. Bronx keeps creating it, Queens keeps faking it. But while everybody thought Queens was faking it, they were secretly masterminding some serious, powerful men in this music and entertainment division. If you look at that, if you just think about what come out of Queens, you got some of the kings of music is from Queens as well. You know, Brooklyn holds some heavy weight too, but you got
as far as
some
artists,
weight.
you're talking about executives.
Yeah, Queens got executives and artists.
Yeah.
Steve Stout, you got to give it to him. He's the god of that marketing for this hip hop culture. You can't take that away from him. He's from Queens. Irv is from Queens. Executives,
Russell
right?
from Queens.
Russell is from Queens. You got a lot of executives from Queens, and then you got major top artists from Queens.
You do, but you got more major top artists probably from Brooklyn.
Possibly too, but I'm saying Queens, New York totally
So
is
Queens got the best
influenced
of
by
both.
music.
So Queens got the best of both.
See, this the problem with everything in our culture. We find a way to divide everything.
Listen.
You know, we find a way to. We're the only culture that says you're too old to be a rapper, or too old to be pursuing music, or something that you have a passion or a drive for.
Okay, all right.
When we living in a society when people can marry a tree, have he or her pronouns, change their different sex, but you're gonna tell a man who's trying to feed his family that he's too old for his craft, his God-given talent. The gossiper, look, Shirley Caesar, Yolanda Adams, icons still going. Nobody's telling them they too old.
It's just I think because hip hop is a young art form still.
No, why is hip hop a young art form? When you have people that created this art, people still listen to their music.
Yeah, but
right, but I'm saying once again, it goes back to division. What is driving this division between us and this hip hop culture that we want to separate everything and put everybody in a box? Is Coca-Cola beefing with Pepsi? It's enough room.
No, I mean, they ain't beefing like they ain't beefing like in the public.
Why the crabs in the barrel is trying not the crabs get out? When is it time to free the slaves in the music game?
That bring that back just to the whole Willie Lynch situation.
That ain't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it got something to do with it.
I mean, that's a mindset. It plays a mindset. Do you believe?
It's a mindset.
Do you believe that all black people suffer from PSTD or ADD? Post-traumatic syndrome. So you think you could only get that from being in a war?
No.
Okay, so you think not growing up in New York, Chicago, Louisiana, some of these murder capitals, that average citizens who are not doing these crimes are not traumatized by it? You don't think a kid growing up from the earliest ages, seeing crime growing up, comes to be a man and don't have no ADD or no post-traumatic symptoms or anything, honestly? I mean...
No, they definitely do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have so many black people that's suffering with health, and they won't share that health until they're detrimentally down. And we could have helped them. We could just gave them motivation to go see the doctors, to eat their medicine, right? Everybody just keeps everything to themselves, and everybody's living in an I world. I didn't come from an I world. I came from a we world. I came from growing up as a kid where the village raised us. Even the gangsters, it was a time you had to earn yourself off the porch, onto the sidewalk, to be able to stop at the corner store and just talk to dudes out there. Because if you wasn't at that particular place to be at, the OGs would say, yo, go home because we don't want to hear your mother saying nothing.
Exactly.
Not even so much your dad. We was more scared of the mother than the fathers. You understand? All that's disappeared now. So everything goes, no foundation to keep kids stable. We got
we got ran, the Monopoly board. They done went around us 400 times. You feel what I'm saying? We've been set back. That plays a lot of the role of what's going on now. That's you don't think so?
I can't.
They went around the Monopoly board 400 times on us, and we helped them pass go, and they collect 200.
Yeah, but
every time.
Each time they go, we got stronger. Because look, you got to look now. There's more black millionaires than ever before. There's more entrepreneurial millionaire women's doing it on their own. So each time that Monopoly you go around there's more people buying property every time you go around, or businesses are getting better. Right now is a great time to be able to be an entrepreneur,
they already ran them 400
a businessman, whatever. The opportunity is there because forces now through this internet, you can create your own source of income.
Yes, you can.
And not even have to worry about nothing. But people are locked into living at their means, and they're happy at that. And then there's the people who living above their means and can't sustain that. But what we need in this world is family back. The mother, the father, the household, going back to Sunday dinners, talking about events. You know what I'm saying? We used to have a lot of families throughout America, no matter the culture.
All the way up to the 70s until when they implemented,
all these different
programs. Yeah, exactly. You feel what I'm saying?
Disguised.
Now you got Trump in there trying to take away Section 8 and all that. You feel what I'm trying to say?
Well, I'm saying, in certain aspects, there's things to dislike and there's things to like about Trump. You know what I'm saying? Me, I really don't like his character, but his character is not going to define how
you move,
how I move, and how millions of people move. We're going to find a way to make it happen. But I agree with one of the things he said. I'm not really totally upset that housing, like the projects, welfare, is for when you fall on hard times, not for generations and generations and generations. We all know somebody in New York City that's been living in that building. Their family been in that building for 60 years.
Not in New York City.
Yeah, all over the country. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But still, they'll make it seem like the majority of those people are black people too.
And it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
But the media helps drive all this stuff, so you got to be a sane
just
person.
Just like they think Africa is a bunch of bushes and trees
and
it's a metropolis.
Because it's the TV,
it's a
metropolis. The television. You feel me?
Yeah, it's a live vision.
They tell them lies, you know what I'm saying? But, make you believe what you want to believe.
But now that's all around current events, but now let's get back to this music stuff.
So how did you in Brooklyn, the Gotti brothers in Queens, how'd y'all link up?
Wait. Okay, so how you said you've been doing it for over 30 years.
Yeah, I've been with the Gottis for about 30 plus.
So Frank said that you are an extraordinaire. What exactly is it?
Yeah, but before we get there, I want to get to the...
Shut up. Here we go.
Okay. So you want accolades first? Or
no, not accolades. Okay. I just want to...
I just want to know, okay, you came from Brooklyn. What is it exactly that you do? But he wants to go back to how you met and who you met. And there you go. Okay, so let's go back to how you met and who you met. Go ahead, let's go.
How me and him met?
No. Who you met and how you met and what? How do you get into what you're doing now?
How I got into the music industry?
Yes.
Or how I got into the music industry? I was a hood celebrity for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I was a hood celebrity.
Okay.
So I had the privilege of running with certain peoples. I ran with like Little Sean, which led me to running with Biggie. I grew up basically, Busta Rhymes basically grew up with us, you know what I'm saying? I remember being in Busta's first car, just we rocking like this, listening to beats, breaking down the seats in the forward. I actually took Busta to get his first Land Cruiser and his first Benz. You know what I'm saying? But I knew all the players in Brooklyn, so like when and them had Cam and Charlie and all that, I was running with people on that side. You know what I'm saying? I always been, I always found my way in the light. Just naturally, just.
So you never did music yourself?
Huh?
You never did music yourself? You never dabbled in?
In my earlier days, I was in Europe, and I was a DJ. I was a dancer. I was a model.
You was in Europe? So you went from Brooklyn to Europe? All that?
Yeah, I was in Germany for. I was in. You know what I'm saying? Like,
He had Jerry curls too?
I was a tough kid in New York City, and I caused some trouble in high school. And my mother and her husband and my younger brothers were in Germany in the military. Okay. So when I got in this trouble, it was wise for me to break out until I was an adult. So I was over there. So while I was over there, I was doing stuff. Yeah, I wound up in a military high school out there in Germany, and for the first time that I seen people from all around the world that was my age, like me, it's the first time that I understood that no matter what color you are, where you from, when you a certain age, you all want to do the same thing. You want to, try some liquor. You want to see if you want to smoke a cigarette. The things you see adults do.
Yeah.
I used growing from New York, I only thought about dudes from New York. People say they go down south for the summer. I wasn't one of those kids that have family down south. I'm from the West Indies. So we stayed right here in New York, you know what I'm saying? But when I went there, it was a whole nother world. So I learned that not all white people are bad, not all Asians. I met people from Chile, Guatemala. I was dating Hawaiian chicks from Hawaii, and you know what I'm saying? 'Cause people in the military, they come from all over the world in the U.S. and they're stationed there. So I was in a school with people from all over. So we used to go out and drink beer and all types of different things and hang out. So I learned that. So now when I came back to New York, that wasn't there for me. So I had a different skill. I had a different mindset for when I left and when I came back. And when I came back, that's when like the crack era and all these things was going on. So now I come back with a different mindset, and I'm set right back into this type of scenario. I used to speak German fluently and everything. You understand? I learned to speak German because that was the only way I was going to get to, knock down some females and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Knock down some German.
Yeah, because over there in the military, the parents were strict. You living in probably a mother and father household. The girls after school, the bus dropped them home. I used to climb in the windows when the parents sleeping, climb in the girls' in windows. And and sleep there that night. Or me and my friends, then we used to, because the military people is crazy. On the weekends, they get so drunk that parents them be passing out on the living room floors. So then the daughters already done, push mom and pop and know they ain't out. I done stepped over mom and pop to get to the girl room, because in this crib you couldn't climb.
Crazy.
You couldn't climb into the window.
You're climbing through windows. So let me get this straight. You're climbing through windows. You're stepping over parents.
Yeah.
Right.
But
to get to the bird.
Yeah, with the girl, like the girl would step over her parents to come open the door and then tell me and my friend, because one of the houses was doing it was two sisters. It was two sisters and they both had two separate rooms. So the three of us would be sneaking back in the room.
Decks.
So
stepping over parents to get to that.
So one day the parents then woke up on a Sunday morning and would start knocking on the girls' door. My man, he got to jump out the window, but I didn't. So I slid in between the wall and the bed, and she put pillows and blanket and laid there and opened the door for her mom and talked to her like, I know you had some boys in here, stuff like nah, why wouldn't I'm still underneath these covers inside the bed in Germany. And her pops is a big dude. I got receipts of people I can call and validate.
Your heart was pumping.
The dudes is still alive.
Blood pressure was high, heart was pumping on your chest.
Exactly.
You got to play with it, run your neck.
And then when they closed that door,
oh my God,
I felt safe. I climbed out the window.
And you a nigga?
Yeah.
Nigga?
And I was there.
In my house.
So you said you used to speak it, and you don't understand it anymore. Obviously you don't speak it anymore.
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch und verstehe Deutsch. Ich arbeite in Deutschland für 4 Jahre.
Right.
I'm an international player, what I'm saying? I play, you know what I'm saying? I've been around, you know what I'm saying?
You can hold a conversation.
I can still hold a conversation. I could go back there now and pull it.
Okay.
They'll be surprised. Okay.
Any other languages?
Pull what they say. I pull a Fraulein. I pull a Frau. A Fraulein is a young girl. A Frau is an older woman.
Any other languages you speak or understand?
No, because Pato is not a language. It's just an abbreviation of English. Like if you're from Panama or Jamaica or Barbados, Trinidad. I'm from an island called St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with that, that's a place where they shot Pirates of the Caribbean. All those series are shot off of my islands.
All right, so you get back from Germany. Crack era is going on.
Yeah, I fall into that, and I did well. Then I caught some time. I did my time. I came back out. You know what I'm saying? I was just dibbing and dabbing in the streets, still enjoying life. We had a lot of toys, me and my friends, and then my little brother started doing music first before me, like trying to do artists. He has a group called the Gunslingers. He had a record with Big L before he died and stuff like that. He had another record that LL and them stole it, and they couldn't contest because Def Jam had that money. You know what I'm saying? That's when the Source magazines was like a quarter page is like $3,500, much less the cover. So these artists don't understand
mass made.
That they don't understand the budgets of what it used to be for artists back then to what it is now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy money. So through those things, so I opened up. Giuliani came in. That's what happened. Giuliani came in and started cracking down. I didn't want to be part of that because they had this new system where it's playing tag, snitch on somebody. You know what I'm saying? I had to get out the game from then. So I opened up a restaurant. Like I said, I was a hood friend. So Buster Wyclef, Haitian Jack, Jimmy, all these type of Brooklyn dudes, coming through my restaurant to pick up some food on their way to the city, or if they come from Long Island or whatever, they pick up some food. And they was like, yo, D, come to the studio, let's do this. And I'm like, nah, I can't, I got my business. Like, you own it, come on, I couldn't do it. So then finally, I think I had got a call from my cousin, and he was like, yo, there's this, no, I said I wanted, so I remember I told you I was running with Buster. So I used to go to Def Jam with Buster to see Chris Lighty had Violated. He was managing Buster. So I was rolling with Buster. So when Buster's in the office talking to Chris Lighty.
So this is like 97, 98?
Man, don't listen to, I smoke a lot of weed. And I got receipts. So I just got to go back and look at my receipts if I get something wrong. You see what I'm saying? So while I was out there, this big, tall man walked up to me. He said like it was the coffee. It was the coffee machine. And I'm looking at him because I'm a hustler from the street with a little bit of bread and some weight. Like, the fuck he talking about? Coffee machine. I look like I work here? So I was like, I don't know. This is what I'm saying in my head. I ain't say that to that. This is what I'm thinking out in my head. I said, I don't know. I don't work here. So he said, what you doing here? I said, oh, I'm with Buster, and he's in there talking to Chris Lighty. He said, all right. So he walked off. So I'm just standing there. So now I start looking around. And when I start looking around, I seen you, and I seen you, and I seen WAP, and I seen Yvette. You know what I'm saying? In other words, I seen us. My vision for music was white men in suits. Cause I'm from the streets, you understand what I'm saying? So that's what I thought ran it. When I seen y'all, I'm like, oh shoot, I could do this. You in your clothes dressed like this in the office, a corporate set? No, I could do this. I like, so when Buster came out, so I'm thinking that. So now the man comes back with his coffee. And he said, oh, you still here? I said, yeah. Why this man is interrogating me, I don't know. But you gonna get to the back end of that in a minute. So he drinking, he said, so what do you do? So in my mind, I'm like, fuck, this nigga asked me what I do, because I'm in the streets. I said, I don't know what I told. I said,
you got a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I.
You got a restaurant.
You exactly right. You exactly. I told him I got a restaurant. So he said, you ever thought about being in the music industry? I said, yeah, I'm with Buster, so I'm curious and shit. He said, well, if you're ever going to be in the music industry, be in the promotions department. So I said, why? He said, it's the only job that you have to justify why you're in the office. And when he said that, light bulbs went off in my head. You heard? He said, I have to justify why I'm in the office. You don't get it?
Yeah, because
I'm getting the job. No, I don't really understand what he said. When you get a job at a corporation, you normally think you're in an office unless you're a field worker, right?
He's just telling you that's the line
he said,
to use.
Get in that. Yeah, that's to think about getting in the promotion. Because any other position, you're going to be stuck behind a desk or some shit like that. So I took that as an advice. So I started asking Buster, like, yo, get me up in the industry. He's like, yo, D, I can't get you in the industry, but when you're with me, when I introduce you to people, once you shake their hand, it's on you. So I started doing that, you know what I'm saying? So then I started, I had a cousin that was messing with franchise with Flex. At the time, Flex had a promotion company called Dope on Plastic. For those of you who know what Dope on Plastic was, that's Flex company before it was Franchise Records, which they still have a existing record pool, I think to this day, that's very good for you independent artists. If you have music, go join that Franchise record pool, join that DigiWax record pool, and join a lot of these coalition DJ stuff. Who we said? MP3 Wax. MP3 Wax is a sponsor of our company, Addventures Music.
We're gonna come back
and Ace
to that
Magazine.
Again.
We're gonna come back.
Say that again one more time before we end this podcast, because that's one of the things that we do ask. Information that you give to upcoming inspiring artists.
I got a lot. See, my story is hard to just jump into to get to where you want to get to. I'm gonna try to speed it. So anyway, I got into that. So he said, come mess with him in Franchise street teams. So I said, damn, I'm a hustler street team. I'm corny doing that. But then I understood the mission. I need to get out of these streets because Giuliani got shit going crazy. I got my little restaurant here going now. I'm kind of cool, but
it's not as fast.
That's not what I want to do. Stuck down in a restaurant all day from in the morning to night. That's not me. I need that lifestyle that I was as a hustler. I need that, and I seen that in the music because I was running with Buster when he was like leaders of the new school. I was moving with them and shit too. So I was seeing privy to this. I was privy to like moving around with Salt and Pepper, Herbie Lovebug and all these teams. Clark Kent, rest in peace. All of them had Prince Marky D, rest in peace. That was my man. Fat Boys, them used to be on my block, on my porch. Marky's park his truck in my backyard and be on my porch. Because they had a baby mother across the street.
That's cool, man. To see this growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, all these.
You just see this fall into the network.
Yeah, man. Me to this day, I never go out of my way. I just be me, and just for some reason, life just puts me in these proper positions. So anyway, I seen the ceiling was low with franchise, no room for growth. So I was ready to get out of there. So hanging back in my restaurant, I realized I got a call, said like, yo, this label looking for some people to go out on a promo tour. Mm-hmm. You should go out on that shit, D. So I contacted it, and it was Murder Inc. They was going out on tour, but I skipped the whole segment. Mm-hmm. So before I got there, I wound up. So when I left franchise, I went to Def Jam. Because I was with Buster again, and Kevin Lyles was saying the best way to get into a corporation is through the mailroom, which I antiquated with the street team as the mailroom. I wasn't going to the mailroom, but I think I tried the street team because I was in my element, the streets. So when I got there, man, they was blocking me hard. So they called themselves setting me up. Now look how life worked. I was getting phone calls outside at my restaurant about this tour. At the same time, Def Jam, my man Rob Love, who's my brother to this day, him and some other dude that was running the Def Jam street team, promotion team, convinced me, because they couldn't like just fire me because they realized I had a lot of street cred, I was strong. Mm-hmm. So they finessed me because they found out this Murder Inc. label is supposed to be dropping an album, Ja Rule's album, Vinny Vinny Freddy, and they supposed to be coming with this other Murderers album, which had a single that was on the news because it was about kill the police, fuck the police, all type of shit. So Def Jam pulled back from that. So Irv and Chris put out their own money to go out on the Murderers tour. So they didn't think that Murder Inc. was gonna survive. So they sent me over, or they offset me on Murder Inc. So when they fail, I'd be out of the way. Mm-hmm. But it didn't work that way.
Murder Inc. prevailed.
It didn't work that way. Mm-hmm. I wound up at Murder Inc. And man, it was a fast ride. I went from 3 people in the limo, 4 people in the room, and for like maybe 3 weeks that lasted. Before I started getting my own.
I didn't know when Ja Rule's album first dropped, they was ready to drop the whole Murder Inc. because of that certain song.
Nah, well, they wasn't ready to drop. They was ready to. They always wanted Ja Rule, but I think the first singles Irv had a compilation album called The Murderers with Ja plus Vita, 01, a bunch of the artists that he said he was going to be coming out with. This was before Shanti and Lloyd was even in the picture. This was original, that type of shit. Yeah. So they figured the single was taking a lot of pressure in the media, and and then on top of that, the name of the label was Murder Inc. So Def Jam didn't see this vision, and they really too much wasn't with it. So Irv them still believed in their stuff, put out their own money however they did, and we went out and we did it. But meanwhile, we was out on that Murderers tour. Vinny Vici was bubbling.
That's bubbling.
This just started bubbling, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now we working on 336. So now when we finished 336, Irv and Chris took it to a Def Jam meeting. In Def Jam, the whole, they had the 411 meetings with all the departments there to listen to the album, so all departments could figure out what their logistics is. Okay. And they gave it a bad review, the 336 album. Told Irv and Chris take that.
That's the red cover, right? With them.
Jara with the bandana, 336. Yes, they told Irv and Chris take that record. We give you a few racks more and go make a whole new record. Irv and Chris personally told me they walked out that room feeling, like defeated. And then Chris said he remembered. He sent a text message to everybody. Remember L.A., where we made the album, most of the album and all that stuff. Remember that good time, all the love we had from LA. And we like, fuck. And Irvin, Chris, and John them came to the decision like, fuck them. This is our shit. This is what we standing on. And we did it, right?
So how was that album produced? Did the Def Jam give you a budget for the album, or was that out the pocket?
336? No, that was part of the deal and everything. They just say make another one. And we like, Irvin, Chris, and John decided, collectively like, fuck them. This is what we going with or without you. But Irv had a friend in radio in California that was like top radio dude out there called Demiza. I don't know if you see him on the gram now every day. If you're an independent artist, please follow Demiza at DAMIZZA. If you want to get real good knowledge, straight knowledge, and things that can help you, listen to him every day. He knows what he's talking about, and he's putting this on. Follow him. So anyway, he had the record, and Irv told him, what Def Jam said, and he's like, nah, what? So he said, I like the album, they bugging. So he started sending it out to a lot of radio people, and he was breaking it from LA. 336 Jive, that album, we broke that from LA and pushed it across. You see what I'm saying? By the time it got to New York, they couldn't resist it, and then it was up from there.
So back to back, he had the Vinny joint, and then he had the 336.
Man.
Two dope albums back to back, so it was like Murder Inc. is on fire.
Yeah, then we came back with that Fast and Furious soundtrack plus the Fast and Furious movie, and because it was a Universal project, we got like a lot of the marketing and art and stuff to go along with the movies. Like the trailers was shot through the videos that we were doing for the soundtrack. So you see when the movie soundtracks, you got parts of the movie in there. We did that and everything. I came up. That was one of my first learning lessons in there, because we had so much creative control through Universal, but we had it to share it with Def Jam. Def Jam had their vision and we had our vision, right? Which was basically my visions for the merch and the promo, the posters, or all type of different things like that. What I came up with, where to send them out to get traction with people.
You was controlling all that.
Yeah, I came up with this box set with ashtrays, cigar cutters, and everything. You know what I'm saying? Little cars, everything that was out for merch for the first Fast and Furious. Most of them was my idea. So I was supposed to split the credit with, I believe it was Susan Burge. She was the project manager on the Def Jam side. So we surrendered everything, with the people who played. Somehow, miraculously, my name ain't make it on there. So I learned. That was a learning lesson. The second
lesson. Susan got all the credit?
Yeah, she took all the credit. But everybody knew. The whole building knew whose ideas there was.
You gotta have a thick skin, like you said. You gotta have that
we didn't pursue Fast and Furious 2 because Ja opted out for that and Ludacris opted in, and it's been all the way there. The second thing I learned while doing working at Murder Inc. with our brand, we was different how we work radio. And working radio, I found out that Def Jam was using Ja Rule as a pawn for other radio stations for Def Jam to get other artists' music played. Cause we was hot. We was doing all the summer jams, winter jams. We was on everything. So early in the game, they was like, well, if you want Ja Rule for this summer jam, you got to get Dub C or Meth, whoever the artist was. Maybe it could possibly been Ludacris, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whoever was at them times, they was using it. So when we found that's 2 strikes. Irv was like, yo, every department that Def Jam have to make a music company, we're gonna institute that. So then Chris Gotti put all types of shit together. We had our own legal team, we had our own radio team, we had our own promotions, marketing team. We did everything ourselves and gave it to Def Jam. So they was like, so now it's radio, Def Jam gotta work 10, 15 artists, right? At that time I only had to work 1 artist. So I could devote all that time to Murder Inc. and Ja, and that's what I did. So through that, we came up with something. Irv came up with this. He dubbed it the Irv Gotti Swerve. That's where music that we would normally give to Def Jam to get running, we got it running ourselves, and then gave it to Def Jam. We gave all our records to Def Jam with legs already running. They didn't have to work our records.
So you sent it to radio, different places.
Yeah, we was doing whatever we was doing. We was doing it ourselves. Me, my man Tariq. I had my assistant, Polo Shelton.
So the song like that saved the
Jose
budget.
Lopez.
So the budget that Def Jam gives you, since you're doing that work yourself, does that cut into the budget or anything?
I don't know if that cut into the budget. I know we was getting good money.
Yeah,
because I had the company card, so I had a vehicle.
Since you're doing a lot of work yourself, y'all saved a lot of money from the beginning. It doesn't matter.
I don't think the music industry worked that way at the time. Like Def Jam, every month I think Def Jam would give us a set of money for overhead. So you gotta get a person like Chris Gotti to break down those type of things. You know what I'm saying? I have my own budget. Trust me, I have $1 million budgets. that I was dealing with. Because I had, say if I had, for marketing promotion, just say promotion, I had 300,000 for Ja, 250 for Ashanti, 100,000, you know what I'm saying, for Lloyd or whatever. So I always had big budgets because I'm working worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm not just working, I'm working worldwide. I'm international. I had music playing in all over the world. You know what I'm saying? I was feeding music for Tim Westwood and Benny Brown and some other countries. You know, it was a lot going on. I had a lot of employees around the world.
So when y'all had these teams and you're presenting to Jeff Jam, okay, this is what we did. Here it is. Were they trying to find like loopholes? Were they trying to find things to be like, nah?
Because like I said, they made a couple mistakes with Irv that they understood how he moved. They made a mistake with DMX. They're like, who's gonna buy that record? Chihuahuas, you know. So they didn't understand DMX, and once they didn't understand that, Irv said like, yo, I can't fuck with y'all because then y'all understand the culture. And Irv left. They had to persuade him to come back. He said, I don't come back. I'm only dealing with you, Leo, and can't nobody tell me how to run fucking Murder Inc. We did our own shit. Don't get it fucked up. We had assistants, you know. They gave us assistance and everything with the infrastructure, but we got our own balls running. You know what I'm saying? We got our shit running, gave it to them. Because they had what happened when you got Jay, Kanye, Ludacris? In the fourth quarter was heavy. Fourth quarter is when your top artists put out records. Only top artists put out records in the fourth quarter. And you could imagine with Def Jam alone, never mind Interscope or these others, just imagine Def Jam roster for the fourth quarter. So I didn't come with new projects for the fourth quarter. I recycled the new stuff.
Rough Riders, Rockefeller.
Yeah.
You know, all heavy hitting.
Listen to me.
Same time.
State property.
The shit that I was doing to promote Murder Inc., man, it was like, you know, people wonder why some people like, yo, that dude is a genius, dude is smart in promotions and the type of stuff. Because I was doing like, the news comes on every morning at Radio City Music Hall, and you sitting there watching and you see cars in the traffic, right? I started peeping that, so I started watching the time. So I made sure my Murder Inc. truck was already parked. What I used to do is just after the club, I would go over by Rockefeller Center and park. Because I know I'm not going to go home and come back. And you got to catch this early in the morning. When I'm watching it, taking the time, move my truck up real slowly so when they doing that segment, who's in the shot? Now I remember TRL. They always used to shoot the Virgin Record store across the street. So after doing TRL so much with all these artists, I got real cool with them cameramans. I knew exactly when they shooting that. I went and made like these big 10 feet by 5 feet core boards around the corner. I have my team. When the cameraman told me they getting ready to show the spot, I had my team come with these life-size Ja Rule, life-size Ashanti, and life-size set. Next day, Leo Cohen comes down to Murder Inc. You hear him coming down. Gotti, I used to think you had a bunch of idiots down here, but I see you got some guys down here who really know what they're doing. So he went in Irv's office and they talked. When they came out, Irv told me Leo wanted me to come and do some interview for MTV for, I think, 25 years or 15 years or something with music. And he wanted, you know, like the top street team people from Def Jam. So I was in there. Of course, they had their top, Rob Love. I think it was Gavin from Rockefeller. And I don't think nobody represented Rough Rider. I'm not sure. I think it was just us three. Rockefeller, Murder Inc. and Leo. I mean, these are receipts. If you go back in the MTV archive, you see that. And all. One thing about me, I'm not going to cap. I got receipts for them, shit. I might get it mixed up, but I got receipts.
You official? You did the homework? Why you never did the street team stuff with Busta since you started off with him? Why?
Because Busta was at Electra for a while, and even though it was a while, Busta didn't have no situation, even though he was popping.
Yeah, he was just.
And then when Busta started popping, it had the budgets. Busta, you gotta understand, he has a creative mind of his own. You see the album. I was just at his album release party.
Oh yeah, I seen that. You put that up.
The other day, you know what I'm saying? I had to come on and pay it. Cause I came out for Busta. I came out for my nephew, his son, Trillion. Cause I watched these kids grow. I used to rub their mama belly, you understand? And I've been in these kids' lives. So now he's putting out an album. His single release was the same party as his father's album release.
Dope.
So to see a father and son come out there like this, still relevant, because his pops ain't never not been relevant since he came out in this game.
Yeah, Busta Rhymes.
And now his son, is there with him. You know what I'm saying? Relevancy, to see that and know that I know this and watch this grow. Is you know, it made me proud to be there. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Buster too, because at the same time I'm there, he never met my artist, which y'all probably gonna meet today from New Orleans, Uwop, that's in the building. You know what I'm saying? With that new album, The Color Purple. I said, Buster, as Buster was coming in, the grand entrance, everything going, and when he got up to me, and I stopped and gave him a hug, and I said, yo, that's my artist right there. He just turned around, and him and Wop, it's receipts online right now. You know what I'm saying? He froze everything, talked to him for like 3 minutes. All paparazzis, everybody, security, everybody was
like that, though.
Was just stuck. You know what I'm saying? It was just stuck. Yeah. So, you know, this is an album release party, and he took that time to do that. So it meant something to me, you know, like I said, I ain't never wavered from Bus. No matter, even, you know, the disc records had came out one time against Ja, and, you know, I'm riding with Ja. I understood the business. You understand what I'm saying? So I know personally he ain't mean that shit. Niggas get caught up in that shit. You know what I'm saying? But I never wavered from him, and to see him now in this day doing this thing and his son, I love that. I'm loving to see what Jim Jones is doing, because he's setting that, like, yo, don't hit me with that, you're too old to be rapping. How is it too old? You see the moves he's making?
No, Jim's definitely
he's moving. These young artists can't even put it together like that.
Yeah.
And the talent that he's pulling up too.
Yeah, you know, he's making talent. When you think he done spent, he popping up with something. His push has been remarkable. I got to give it up. That's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing this from these new artists. That concept. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
How was the time when, you know, the feds ran down on Murder Inc.? That time was a rough time, man. You didn't get caught up in none of that.
He put the microphone.
You say I didn't get caught up.
Did you get caught up in some of that? Like, you know?
Chris and Herb paid $1 million bail to bail me out, brother.
Oh man.
Wow.
They paid $1 million bail. Listen to me. So we was in Vegas. The whole team was out in Vegas, and we was on something called The Last Hurrah. Well, we brought the whole team out there. I mean, we must have maybe 100 people, 150, maybe even more. We had people staying in damn near every hotel in Vegas that week. Cause we was doing the first Fox New Year's Eve party. The first year that Fox, remember, it was always Dick Clark on ABC. Remember, Fox did the first one. We did that, and John and Sean then performed, and Cool from Cool and Dre performed, because Bobby couldn't come to do it, so he sang Bobby part for, I think it was Thug Lovin' or whatever. I think he did that. So while this was going on, we was in Vegas. They was raiding our offices, I guess. Because when we got back Monday, I was on my way to the office, and my SkyTel two-way pager went off, said, don't go to the office. The feds are in the office, raid. Don't go to the office. We'll regroup late. You know, we'll tell everybody what's going on. Feds in the office, like. So anyway, they did that, and things went on as normal. So I was out in LA for like 3 months on a West Coast run with I had Cadillac Ty and Black Child with me, and we was on a West Coast run, staying out there at the company mansion. The day that we was leaving, we got into the limo, me, Caddy, and my man Tariq, and we left from the compound, and we drove down the street and turned onto like the main road. I think it was Sherman Oaks or something out in LA. I think that's the road, or White Oaks or something. And just as we was about to turn onto that, the limousine stopped. So it stopped for a few seconds longer than a stop sign. So then we rolled down the partition. It's like, driver, what's going on at that time? When we rolled down the partition, I seen the ATF, DEA, all these people running towards this limo. At this time, we think they probably gonna be running past the limo. You're not thinking they coming to the limo. Yeah. So we looking like, driver, what's going on? He said, I don't know. So then you hear the horn, driver, limousine, turn off the key, throw the key out, and come out backwards and all that. I was the last person to come out of the thing. So as I'm walking backwards, y'all two already on the floor, right? So as I'm going down, I said to Frank, I said, Frank, what's up? You bent your head up because you laying on your stomach. You bent your head up like this. And you looked up at me and said, "Yo, Dex, this is for you." And when you said that to me, when you said, "Dex, this is for you," everything up here dropped right down to my butthole, ready to come out. Because I couldn't understand. This is DEA, FBI, ATF, and they got on these big armored like you know what I'm saying? So now they walked and they looked down. looked at me, looked at the paper, got him. That's him. Asked me my name. I said, yeah. So they put them plastic straps on me and they picked me up. So as they lifted me up and they telling y'all can stand up or whatever, I turned to both of y'all. I say, Frank, call Gotti, call Chris. And that's the last thing I said. So now they wished me off to the Fed joint. So when I got there, they brought me in. All the CEOs and people was lined up like, they do that celebrity shit. Yeah. Because they heard a top executive. Remember, we hot as fuck. We on fire. They heard top Murder Inc. executives got arrested and coming in. So I walked through, I guess, what they call a walk of shame. So by the time they fingerprinting me, I don't even think I made it into a cell. Because when they brought me in, they took me straight to fingerprint. And while they fingerprint, they got a call said to bring me upstairs because my lawyers is here. So this is like 45 minutes must have passed in the time from they locked me up to where I'm at now, right? And they say your lawyers, he's got lawyers upstairs. So they hurried up with the fingerprints and they brought me upstairs. I went upstairs with these two white dudes, and they would say they was from the Eastern District as a courtesy for the Southern District out in New York. I guess they couldn't fly lawyers in fast enough, so they retained just for the indict whatever the court proceeding. So when I got up in there, the lawyers, he talked to me, said, don't worry, you coming out of here today. He asked me some few questions about my past, Chris history, like that. We're going to front the judge. They said, da. Judge said, all right, we're going to set bail. We're going to do for bail. Judge said, let's set bail, I think they said $250,000. So the attorney said, we'll make no problem, Your Honor, we'll post bail. Because with this power, they got that type of credit or whatever. Prosecution jumps up, Your Honor, this is a money laundering case out of the Southern District, and these guys are in the music, and they could be flight risk. This guy already had a bench warrant, and you see he has extensive criminal record. The judge thought about it. The argue, say, yo, put $1 million bail on him. The attorney said, no problem, right? The judge said, but we want a verified bail hearing. So that means they got to see where the money's coming from before I can make bail. So this is a Friday and it's a holiday Monday. So I'm not going to court till Tuesday. So I had to sit down in the Cali Fed joint for a few days. And while I was in there, I ain't had no issues. The dudes all love. I mean, dudes was from the other side of the wall. Dudes was waking me up because when I first got, I went to sleep for about a day. I slept for about a day, my G. So dudes was waking me up and it's like, yo, there's some dudes want you to come to the door, when they separate the units. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yo, they said, yo, that's the Careful Murder Inc., this Dex. I was like, yeah, nigga, I think he said, this Big Fendi. I said, what up, son? He said, yo, your man Chris Gotti told me you was probably here, so we tracked you down. We're gonna send you some stuff. And like, about an hour and a half, I had soap, I had cigarettes, I had all type of stuff. You niggas just hooked me up, said, you good, nobody gonna rock, you good, everybody know what it is. I slept for another day and a half. I really didn't eat until court date. Went to court, made that bail, went back to the mansion, chilled a few days, came back to New York. That time they had that company Cool Beer or something like that, was making them teach them movies with big pizzas, and they said, I had a beer, say I made $1 million bail. They gave me, I was rocking in the clubs with that shit. They're like one of the first dudes, a record label dished out $1 million to me, my nigga. Irvin Chris. Look at the situation that happened with Bobby and Rowdy in modern day. They left them in there. Yeah. They didn't pay that bail. They had bail. Remember, Sony and Epic didn't pay the bail. That's the difference. Old school and new school, my G.
Like the word.
When we was back.
They beat it. Obviously, we all know what happened. They beat it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And
stuff like that. So then we went back to work, but we noticed work was different. Everybody was like, hating or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And we went through we just survived the feds. We survived damn near all the top artists coming at us, you know what I'm saying? Because to me it was just the changing of the guard, man. All they did was shift the one set of infrastructure to the other infrastructure. Yep. Basically, so the bag switched it from us and put it over there and influence, and that's what. So, but Irv got fed up with all the game playing, and he's like, I can't do this. Why am I going to be trying to be creative if they fighting against me and not giving me my due just? Like making sure he don't win. Mm-hmm. So he left. So once we seen that, we figured we had, Chris started like, damn, got a whole team of people to feed a bunch of artists. What we gonna do? I'm saying he don't want to do nothing. What we gonna do? So we just let that go, and then Chris started focusing on how could he help independent artists now. So Chris Gotti, he was the back end of Murder Inc. Irv was the visionary. Chris translated into paper and into dollars, physically. You see what I'm saying? So he know all the ins and outs and trials and tribulations that artists face with a label. So when he designed Addventures music, is add your venture, add your music. So that's what the ad is. And that's why it's 2 Ds instead of 1. Adding your business with ours. Cause we the highway. We know everything. You get on our highway and roll, get off where you want, get back on when you want. Whatever. At Addventures music is always a home for the artist. So he know all the ins and outs. So that's how it's designed. We know that the artist is gonna come on our brand. He's gonna learn. He's gonna get a little flighty, and he's going to want to explore. We designed it for that. Go ahead and explore. Try your hand somewhere else. If it don't work, you always have a home here. You never have to worry. It's a lifetime membership. So we started creating that, and then we physically launched it. Like I think it was 2016.
Yeah, so that's what I mentioned. Like
so
that time.
2016 to like up until the pandemic. We was moving in every state, and we were so ahead of the game that we're telling everybody what's coming.
This is before TuneCore. This is before CD. No, CD Baby.
They were there, but people were still locked in on traditional. How to move that way, just get signed to a label. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really understand the power, and we're trying to tell them like, yo, it's all right here in the phone. They looking at us like we crazy. We tell them like, yo, listen. Hot 97, I'm just using Hot 97 for instance. Hot 97 has always been urban, but y'all gotta understand, the Spanish people is coming for Hot 97. I said the Afro beats is coming for Hot 97. I didn't really tell them about the English, because I didn't know about England was gonna be.
You talking about as far as the tracks,
how things change. Because the amount of music, if you think you couldn't get
into. So like you talking about like the drill that they do.
Yeah, but not even drill. Just these cultures is coming in. Hot 97 never played Spanish music, my brother. You had to go to Spanish station for Spanish music, and went in any urban market. Now you're going to quite a few urban markets now. They actually playing Spanish music. They actually playing Afro beats, and they actually playing that music from London. Right. So each time they brought in another genre, that knocked out the hip hop and R&B genre. The only thing that was contesting with us was when a white boy come in the hip hop, and he taking a position that's knocking out a black or brown from that same slot at radio. We was only fighting against them, but now here comes the Spanish dudes. They don't want to be on the Spanish station. They want to do their shit on
the urban station.
On the urban station, because they hip hop too. They just Spanish, right? And they came with their Spanish trap, whatever music they was coming with. First it was reggaeton, penetrated, and then they started penetrating with real rap, and then they started coming. Once they got in, they playing straight Spanish. You got to understand Spanish now to understand that record that Flex is playing, or Bobby Trends, right? If you don't speak Spanish, then never was happening. So that's less room for the independent artist to get his there. So now you got to look at where can they go. They got to go to internet radio. A lot of them don't understand the power of the internet radio. When you go to a radio station in your market, it only goes in a radius of 10,000 kilowatts or whatever, however far that could take you. That could take you like from New York to damn near Hartford, and then you out of range from that Hot 97 station. So that's your circumference. But on the internet, you got a global. You could call your cousin in Africa or Brazil or South Carolina, and say at 8 o'clock, checking Force podcast with Frank Nino. You understand what I'm saying? And they could tune in wherever they hear you, just like XM radio. But so much people don't understand the business, and they don't know how to use these platforms. Everybody, it's just so much artists. It's like 22 million independent artists. I mean, it's like the people who making the money is the people at the top, not the artists. Because we all fighting to throw music up there in there, and they just collecting these advertising now because they got 1 million artists putting music in there. That's why it's no longer about the talent, it's about the popularity. See, this artist that I have here, Uwap, that I have with me, I'm not with the smoke and mirrors with him. We ain't doing none of that smoke and mirror stuff. We ain't.
Give the people definition of smoke and mirrors. Like, what's your definition?
Making up all these type of crazy content and doing crazy stuff, and like you see some of the stuff the females is doing. It's crazy. to be popular so that they can be able to sell records or get some money from some other vertical. See, the way I tell artists, the way I educate, I'm telling artists, like, it starts with good music. If you have good music, you have an easier chance. Everybody think their music is good. But it's not standards. It's like, it's in your mix. They have things in the mix that artists don't even know about because they go into these studios with these Tom, Dick, and Harry engineers who just record everything. They don't have engineers or too many engineers sit there and tell the artist, you need to say that over, that don't sound right. They just let them lay it and they think it's hot and they do a little soft mix and they want to slap that shit in the system. Now, business-wise, you can't function like that. You can't open a restaurant and just throw some chicken in the oven, throw some french fries. You got to put a little season, you got to clean the shit, you got to clean the place, right? You just can't be, you understand? It's a business. Right. It's things that got to be done and artists don't understand that. But it's not the artist's fault. Because as an artist, you just programmed to be creative. You're supposed to have management and a team around you to do all these other things so that all you focus on is creativity. This is why labels give them a stipend for their rent and different things like that. But now when you come as an independent artist, you got to figure out these things.
On your own, yeah.
A lot of artists have the mistaken thought that if you have a manager, it's his job to go and find money and make sure you can get to shows and stuff and do all that. That's not what manager. The person is managing what you got.
Yeah, if he ain't coming with nothing, he got nothing to manage.
Yeah, but it's a misconception in the independent world with these artists because they don't really have people who really know what to do. Everybody's just reading YouTube or telling you what they heard from this person because he heard it work for this artist. But every artist is unique.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to find what your craft is.
And y'all get marketed.
If you're a singer, make content that sings, just showing your ability. Mix it up. Do a little comedy, a little bit of drama. Do a lot of things. Do public stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so hard. If everybody's driving down the same street, what are you gonna have?
Traffic jam.
Okay. So with my artists, while everybody's in that traffic jam, I'm taking these side roads. But I'm moving.
Y'all trying to go to the same place, but you're taking the side road.
Yeah, I'm taking the side road because I'm not a follower. I got experience. I know other ways in verticals how to move an artist. Now, if I had even more money to be moving this artist, I'd really be showing out. You see what I'm saying? Because I got the network and I got the connections. It's many artists who want to rock with me, but they don't got no bread.
But these days, artists can learn, like, your name, you are a business, you're an entity. You can go get an LLC. You can get a bank loan. You can get grants. You can get, all type of situations popping just by having a EIN number. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, all that is true. But you know what they say? It's always better to spend somebody else's money.
Yeah, but that's the bank's. I'm saying that's the bank's. To get started, that's the bank's money. I'm saying.
But in business, I want to build a business. I'm gonna go take a loan. Even though I had the money, I'm gonna go take a loan.
Yeah, so
keep my money.
You don't need. So what I'm saying is, you don't necessarily need labels money at first. You can get a line of credit for $50,000.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? If you have a 680 or better, you know what I'm saying, and you got the EIN number, you open up a business account and you do transactions. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, you can ask for a little credit line. Use that, buy some merch, do this, do that. You feel what I'm saying? Start making some money. You feel what I'm saying?
See, what you said sounds good, and there's some artists that's doing that, but there's a lot of artists they can't put their priorities together to do it. They're so caught up in their own smoke and mirror that for them to turn around and ask somebody like me or you or whatever something about the industry, they're gonna feel stupid. I learned that from doing seminars. Trust me.
Yeah.
These artists in there, they project a certain image. So now when they come to the seminar, they just sit back and listen. They don't ask no questions because they already act like they a star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if they
got
turn
their
around,
fake Gucci belt on.
So if they turn around and ask these questions, like, damn, you popping like that, and you don't know the answers to these, the way you looking and acting, we thought you passed these stages. That's a lot of artists.
Yeah.
It's like people, they sick and they won't tell you they sick until they on their dying bed. You're like, damn, I didn't know you had cancer. I didn't know you had diabetes. It's the same thing with artists. They portray themselves too high, too soon, and then they can't look for help because they're gonna look whack. Some of them think
so pride issues, ego.
Pride, they got the image.
Plus, a lot of these guys and girls in these generations is making music. They sensitive too. So they hurt from constructive
So they don't got that thick skin. We was talking
Yeah,
about.
they hurt from constructive. I seen a lot of artists that I work with. I seen artists fail. They get up to those levels, and the pressure's too much.
Yeah, you gotta be mentally stable. You feel me? So what's the difference between Adventures or like a distro
Adventures
or like a
distro.
TuneCore?
We're all the same, but we all have something unique about us. But I think me and Chris' platform has a lot more uniqueness about us. For one,
Give us the differences.
for I'm gonna just give you a simple difference between us and any one of those other platforms,
TuneCore,
right?
DistroKid,
Whatever, United
CD
Masters.
Baby,
They all
United Masters.
we all distribution, so I can't knock them.
No, I'm not knocking. I'm just saying but each of them have their own.
For one, artists are always going to feel good once they know they can talk to a live person. See, everything you name, all those other brands, they fully automatic. See, we choose to be like 85% automatic because we understand that these artists don't understand the business and they need somebody to turn to ask them. That's why we say the people on our platform are members. Because when you're a member on Addventures Music, you have a voice. See, when you just one individual on United Masters, they only representing the people that's making some bread. Other than that, it's hard to communicate, to get changes made and stuff like that. Here at Addventures Music, you send your email and if it don't get responded, people actually call me and Chris. Yo, Chris, I've been trying to reach your company. Like, what you having problem? We didn't see that email. We check. You got live people. It's artists that's stuck. They made this song. They don't know what to do next. They call me. They call Chris. We give them ideas. And our platform for our members for me and Chris to make money, right? For us to make money, our artists have to make money. So why would we have a bunch of artists on our platform that can't make money and all they need is knowledge? We give them the knowledge, they make the money. I give them a cut. We could be like those other platforms and like you throw your music in and they don't do nothing, we don't care. Because that's not how they getting their money. You understand what I'm saying? Listen to me. The majority of independent artists only have 50 listeners a month on Spotify. You understand what I'm saying? It's people in this industry, we have these glasses on, we see right through all this smoke and mirror because we know where to get the analytics. I could go pull a media base and contradict what artists say they doing. See, the average person in these games, they can't get these information. They got to get that information fourth party. Unless they're going to pay money to get a subscription with media base, and it might not be worth it for one individual to buy a media based subscription. Because their music ain't moving like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So it's a lot of things, but artists just they got to stay consistent. They got to have a theme. And you know, you come out with your album, if it's this the album, what's your merch? What's your, what are you selling besides your music? Because people these days don't just want the music, they want to know about you.
So at what point do you tell an artist?
I will never tell an artist it ain't for him. See, I'm with independence. I'm with the independent artists. I want to see them evolve because when is it time? This is what Chris Gotti always said. When is it time to free the slaves? In other words, when is it time to free the artists? Like I said, the masters up there making all the money and we down here doing all the work. But we getting these little rewards. You get 0.35% of a penny on a stream.
I just heard Scarface talking about this too.
But yet you hear the CEO making 640 million for himself or something like that. Or the music industry making $40 billion or whatever the number is, but the artist ain't no artist seeing $1 billion in this off of this music, off of a project. You look, the Spanish artists, look at some of these Spanish, they got some like 750 million streams. You got a very few artists that got like 2 billion, 3 billion streams. So you got to be consistent with these type of numbers to make those type of numbers. You want them Bad Bunny money and stuff like that, you got to be streaming in them billions on a regular consistent.
So you got to have a marketing budget that gets you to even
now. There's a lot of artists I believe that's floating out here. How we wonder how they're doing it. These are artists that had got some popularity early. I believe the record labels got in with them and just keeping it quiet. They're silent partners because what the independent artist movement is doing, if a label gets in, the fans just automatically feel it's going to go another direction. So they keep everything going the way it's going. You got hedge fund companies and startup companies that's funding some of these artists with their startup projects. Mm-hmm. You got to look at an artist like, say, Sauce Walker. Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot of checks other than his music checks. For messing with other companies, rather that companies in America or wherever. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of artists like that. You know what I'm saying? Just getting that money that way too. Other people, it's almost like a NIL, name, image, and likeness. So that could happen in the music. That's an investor. You coming in, you giving this person this money. You want to control whatever money you come in so that you can get yours and he can get his too. Moving on, his debt is over and everything becomes profit. So it's a lot of different ways to get in, but a lot of people got to be more educated and they got to understand business, that when you're talking to people for business, you got to dress for business and you got to talk with some type of etiquette to get that money, to influence that person, that you're not just some, yo, what up, homie, you trying to roll up a blunt while you talking. You understand? You got to come in prepared for business. Then when you get the business done, you do what you want. It's almost like some people say like Dame Dash. They got an oral agreement about a deal, and then he goes in before the deal is inked. He might be talking about, hey, culture, mama, and then the contract never get contract signed. Then talk your shit. Don't talk shit just on an agreement. In other words, a lot of artists, they go out there, I just came from Def Jam, and I talked to Frank Nino, the A&R, he said everything looking good. You know what I'm saying? You take your picture by the elevator up in Def Jam and all that, put it out there, you know what I'm saying? Big things coming, nothing comes. That was a hustle for a while. Go up in there and see them A&Rs, win them showcases, and go see an A&R, and they give you that schmooze. Get
take a picture next to the Atlantic record sign. Take a picture.
Big things coming. These are things when I say like smoke and mirror. Yeah, there's more effective things you can do. Like for one, as an artist, you ain't got no bread. Try to make a couple records. Keep your image at least decent enough so that you can work with some of these nonprofit organizations. News and media come to nonprofit organizations. So if you're from this community, do something for your community. Get involved. You see what I'm saying? So you could get some light that way, TV, news, some articles. You see what I'm saying? Do things that go back to your high schools. Do these types of things too. You know, first time around, as some people gonna tell me I gotta say pause. I tell artists the first time around, you gotta take it with no grease. You gotta try to show up wherever you can for free. You just want to get in to be able to perform for those 10 or those 15 or those 30 or 100 people. Do that as much as you can, because each time you do that, there's 10 people or 15 people knowing you, and you don't know if they're going to repost you. It's better than not doing nothing. A lot of artists just go to the club and sit there and drink liquor and just chill instead of really working the club. You got to work these clubs, you got to work these DJs, but you got to know how to work them. You know what I'm saying? But you need somebody to tell you how to do this, because most of these artists, they just make music. And then they bounce off other people's visions of what they hear and try to tweak it to work for them instead of figuring out what's tailor-made and work for them.
What was the other person's name that you said to listen to?
Demiza?
Yes. Yeah,
Demiza. He's from the West Coast. He was a top PD over there, one of the top stations in LA. He's retired from that now, but he's very knowledgeable, and he's sharing a lot of information daily, 3 times a day. He's putting you up on different things, what's going on. So if you listen to these things, then you know how to do your research to react. He's telling you how algorithms work, or if this company's merging with this company, what that means for the independent artists, you know, different things like that. But it's very informative. You remember another person, Wendy Day?
I heard that name before.
Wendy Day was another person like that. But Demiza, he comes from that high level of radio and music industry. He's involved in man, once you start to Google him or go on his page, you really understand who he is. I rather Demiza than Rosenberg, if you ask me.
Okay. All right.
So your artist that you're promoting now, like, how did you guys link up? Did he find you, or you found him?
It was, at the time, it was a mutual colleague of mine that I used to tour, and I was used to stopping at his club and do events there. So we had built a rapport, and he knew that, he knew how valid me and Chris were in the music industry. You know, we have our own platform and what we stand for, you know, games and no bullshit. So he had this artist who is Uwap, and they came to New York to talk to me, and I sat down, I listened to 3 songs, and that's all it took with this artist. I'm very knowledgeable in this game. I know what to listen for. And in 3 songs, I really heard in the first song caught my ear. The second song caught my ear. The third song, and I seen a consistent pattern. And it was just about asking him a few questions and letting him know how I get down. And once he agreed to how I get down, I said, I'll work with you. So they hired me. I took them on the first 30 days, man. We went on a hell of a run. You know what I'm saying? We went to Miami because at that time I was shooting a movie with Chris. We were shooting a movie that we got coming out called Ballin' with Safari and Lance Stevenson. It's gonna be dropping on YouTube in a couple months. I'm on Tubi in a few months. It really doesn't have nothing to do with basketball, other than the people in the movie that's acting in the movie are playing basketball players. But Lance is actually a basketball player, and Safari is the co-star or a star. And you know, it's a murder mystery type drama, suspense. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So while we was there, we took advantages. We shot some videos. I think I don't know if he made the cut in some scenes that he was you know, not talking scenes. We was doing that. We were doing Ugly Money. We was traveling. We was moving around. We was in Alabama for the big that fraternity thing when they had the big football game, that big weekend or something out there. We was in Vegas for the Formula One weekend where he opened up for Future and Metro Boomin at the I think it was the Virgin Hotel or something like that. You know, he spent the last 5 months up here in the summer running around with me. As you know, me and Chris, we got this thing called Clash TV, where we bring all the top street ball games in New York City, like Dyckman Park, Gersh, Rucker, all these things like that, live every day, live streaming. Then he went home for a couple months. He came back in December, and we was finishing up this album that I'm about to talk to you about called The Color Purple. Like I said, it was his talent, his work ethic. He's a Muslim dude, so he ain't with too much of the smoke and mirrors and too much of the, you know, that unnecessary stuff that people bring into their business, thinking that's going to propel them into being an
delusion,
artist.
basically,
You know,
everything straight clean cut.
So it was all those things like that, and his commitment. Like, he's been with me almost 10 months. That's like almost 10 months not being with your kids, your family. You
a lot of sacrifice.
But I told him in the beginning, once we start working, people, friends, and family, this is something all artists need to understand. Once you commit yourself and you get this focus, your family and friends are going to think you're crazy. They're going to fall off from you. They're going to say you're wasting your life. I tell them that's why when you win, the reward is so great. The reward is so great that the same people who turned their back and gave up on you, didn't want, you know what I'm saying? They right back at you now, right? Because you popping hot and you got some bread. So they right back at you. You know what I'm saying? So when you hear all people say that when you make it big, they tell you that darkness they went through, how everybody left them and thought, they, you know what I'm saying? And they might have been in their car or sleeping on their man couch.
So sacrifice. You going hard, you ain't be able to pay attention to like you used to, you know what I'm saying?
That's why
and they look at you like you're selfish because you're going for your goals and your dreams, and they're like, man, what the hell are you doing, man? You know what I'm saying? Is that paying you? You're going over here, you fucking doing this, and it's not paying you?
So
you know what I'm saying? They're like, what are you doing?
So with that situation, all of a sudden after that first month and a half, his investor, the colleague that brought him to him, I don't know what happened, but everything just went sour. And I just knew that this dude got talent. So, you know, me and I brought my other man in, my man Mel Skrilla. He does a lot of A&R for me and Chris and a lot of stuff over there, Addventures Music. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna take WAP, you know, and this Addventures Music, we're gonna work him. So within less than a year's time, through working with us, dropping a lot of singles on Addventures videos, dropped the album on there. Next thing I know, you know, he's getting somebody must have sent his music to Jim Jones or heard it and played it for Jim, and Jim was like, "Who that?" I said, "That nigga hot." I said, "Yeah, it's so and so." I said, "Yo, get him up here. Let's see what he got." So, and you know, that's how it started. It wasn't too much interaction other than that. Jim heard it, he liked it. He's like,
oh, so he might be with Vamp Life?
no, he is with Vamp Life.
Oh, he's with Vamp
Listen to
Life.
this. He's at Adventures Music, and this album, this particular project, The Color Purple, is a courtesy. You know, in Adventures Music, we lead with independence. So independence means it's the artist's vision. Even though he's my artist now, the same rules apply. It's his vision. You understand? So he said he wouldn't mind being with that Vamp Life brand. So as independent, you're supposed to be able to go where you want to go. It's your car, you own it, you drive where you want to. So he said he want to go over there. So I'm like, we're going to do this project over there. My man Mel Skrilla made sure it happened, and we did it. Jim said, like, listen, you're over here with Vamp Life. I'm here. If you need me for help, I'll help you. Just don't abuse me. So really, when WAP heard that, he's like, he asked Jim for minimal stuff. Everything WAP is doing his own on his strength of him, strength of my partner Mel Skrilla, and the strength of me and that Adventures Music power. Once I seen that, and I knew we had our own machine and all that, and I finally found what I think is a real talent, saying I had to bring him in, and you know, and here he is with me today. I want to bring to the show this my artist Uwap from New Orleans / Houston. This is, I think, some of the best work that I've put out since Murder Inc. working with artists. You know what I'm saying? I put out some good artists out there, put out some good music, but with this artist here, Uwap, I let the music speak for itself. But welcome to the show, Wap.
It was good. Appreciate y'all for having me, man. I'm a little under the weather, that's why I got this mask on. So.
All right, no doubt.
I thought that was part of
He said he's a little under the weather. That's why he has the mask on. I'll be translating for him.
With the accent.
Yeah.
So how is it working with Dex? And are you appreciative?
I can say working with Dex, man, it ain't easy. And I appreciate that. A lot of artists don't understand that. I appreciate that, man, because a lot of us come in this game, man, and they get around people who only